Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my friend Holly Potter. Hi, Holly.
Hi, thanks, Kathy. How are you?
Oh, I'm so glad to see you again. Holly and I met, I don't know, 4 years ago or something, 3 years ago. And
Only two, actually.
wow, it's my life. It
It's
feels
okay.
like a while. Yeah, in a way. It's all good. It's all good, but busy, busy, busy. So anyway, we met at an IONS conference where Holly had a booth and I was the volunteer in charge of exhibitors. And we had this wonderful chemistry right away. It was fun. It wasn't it. It was
Yeah.
fun. We come from similar energies. That's all I know.
That's right.
So, yeah, so I was really excited to get a chance to interview her and share some information about her amazing journey and her inspiration that she could share with you about living a more happy and fuller life. Because really her story, her near-death experience and her 70-day battle for her life could the lessons that she learned could be applied to all of us in every aspect of our lives. And she's a bright light. So she came out of the whole thing as a bright light. So Holly, why don't we start with, so people get to know you a little bit, why don't we start with, if you could share a little bit about your story, about how all of this transformation occurred. And then we'll talk about all the other things that you've done afterwards, okay?
Oh, sure. You bet. Well,
Okay.
thanks, Kathy. I appreciate that. Well, I was a pretty healthy person. And so when I found myself going on 4 years now in the hospital with Delta version COVID, I know we all suffered. The whole world suffered at the same time. And I didn't think I'd get it. I just was super healthy. And I end up being home in a fifth will because we were waiting for a house to close that didn't happen because they didn't know if I was going to live. So I was in there for a week, and then I woke my husband up intuitively and knew that I needed to go to the hospital now. We didn't call an ambulance. He was sick too. I brought it home to him from a conference, and he got us there, and he said he dropped me off in the front of the hospital and went and parked. And by the time he came in, they already had me like on my way to the ICU. So they knew I was in trouble. My oxygen was at 63. They said for as long as I had been home, with all that, I probably wouldn't have made it another hour if I didn't get there. So I'm glad in that instance, again, I listened to my instincts and knew that I needed some medical help. And then that started my day one of the 70 days that I spent in the hospital. And also, I had 2 intubations while I was in there. I had a tracheostomy. I had sepsis, a couple other life-threatening infections. So the first 3.5 to 4 weeks were really touch and go whether I was even going to live. Like sometimes a whole week would go by and there was no change. And so that's kind of the back history to how I got into these experiences. And Kathy, when I met you a couple years ago, I was just coming out of a really dark place. I had the 2 worst years after all these experiences I had ever endured. Never want to undo that. There's a lot of lessons in going through those things. And so when we met, I was in a state of figuring out, and I didn't know until I went to the IANS conference, which most of your listeners know, but it stands for International Association of Near-Death Studies. And so I was new to all that, and I didn't realize there was separate things: out-of-body experiences, a spiritual transformational experience, and a near-death experience. I didn't know that. And when I left the conference, I realized I knew I'd had a lot of out-of-body, but I didn't realize that my near-death and my spiritual were different. And so specifically, I had all of them, and I feel very grateful. And it's taught me a lot of lessons, and it's a lot of things that I'm learning still. But moving forward, I love to tell my story, and it's not really come up as much until this last year. And now I'm thinking, okay, if it helps one person, it's worth it. So.
Well, I think what I want to recommend to anyone that's going through these changing times, even if you're just doing inner work where you're releasing old traumas and dramas that are in your lineage or in yourself, which is the same thing. The benefit of listening to Holly is going to be that you can help integrate better, because so many people, without listening to these stories, they're questioning everything they saw. They aren't accepting and knowing experiencing the gift that they had. And so that's why I was so excited to have you speak about it, because I saw your light, even if you said you were going through an integration period. But I think integration is one of the best things that happens when you come together with a group of other people that have been seeing the world in a bigger way, and they want to bring that into this reality, right?
I agree. Yeah.
So I want to ask, what do you remember most vividly about your near-death experience, and how did it change the way you see life?
Oh, in so many ways, but what stands out the most is where I ended up. And I call it a stadium is where I ended up. Um, it was like the biggest place of a gathering that I've ever been to or felt, and the emotion of love and joy and peace and harmony, I want to say, it was like I saw it as I was in this concert. I remember just being in this place and wondering why I could see everybody, because it was so light, so bright. And everybody was in light, maybe white clothing, but it was just so light. And I remember seeing, I mean, picture the biggest stadium that holds the most people. Like, it was people like that. But I remember looking and I could see feet, and they were bare feet, by the way. And I could see all these feet, but I could still, so I knew nobody was sitting down. They were just like everywhere, people everywhere, but not sitting. And it was just so glorious. And then all of a sudden, from every corner, every direction, I could hear music starting. And I think they were angels. That's what I say they were. It was like the best music and the best sound. And I remember later sharing with my sisters, who were the ones staying in the hospital most. It was the best concert I've ever been to. And, going back and listening to the words I was saying to them, how did they not figure out what had happened? It was me that figured it out. But I was there and I'm in the moment, and I didn't know any of the songs, but I knew the words to every song. Wow. So I was singing and joining in. But before that, I remember the thought process was like, it was just like, nobody's talking, but any thought you had an answer to, any question you had an answer to, anything you could think of that you're like questioning, or like immediately you had an answer, and nobody was talking. It was all telepathy. And I remember thinking, wow, this is cool. I like to move fast, but I'm like, this is light speed. and I don't remember specifically really like things I was questioning or wondering, because I think I was enjoying the concert. I'm not really a concert person. And I was loving every moment. It was just like the best feeling. And then the next thing I remembered was what I'm going to share as my life review. And I'm seeing all this love and hugging, lots and lots of hugging. And I'm seeing all these good deeds. And it was interesting. I don't remember questioning then. I did later, which we can talk about. Why I was only seeing good. I'm thinking, I've done lots of naughty things in my life. I didn't always treat everybody kind. Why do I not see that? And I don't think I questioned it there, because I was so in the moment, and I was so full of the feeling of the emotion and the brightness and the light, that I didn't need to question that. I guess I was just enjoying the good. And And then I got told a couple things. I got told that I needed to go start a nonprofit because I didn't get a choice, by the way, to come back. I did not get to choose. Pretty sure I would have stayed, actually. I never have been afraid of death. And I always tease saying I could help my kids better from the other side because they're all adults. Listen. So I was listening, and I'm told the name, and I'm not given any more instructions than that. That I remember. Oh, that I could remember getting that. I just remember clearly the name. And then I was also starting a company, a new company. These would have been my 10th and 11th companies that I'd started. And I had the name, but it wasn't incorporated. And I had pitched the day I found out I had COVID and was really sick. And I pitched about 9 people on a Zoom that morning, and they had and it was a partner with them, and they had a billionaire backer. So I'm thinking slam dunk, we're going to get this done. And I knew they wanted the project because it was a great project, and it was called Retreat R&R. And then I was told in my near death, do not partner with them, that's not the highest and best thing to do for this company, that it would take me longer. That was not what I needed to do. And I because I was so excited to work with this particular person that I really respected. So that next thing I know, I wake up and I'm in the hospital and I'm intubated still. And I'm sharing with my sister. She could see my anxiety. I never had anxiety before, but take your breath away, you get a little bit of anxiety and trauma with it. And she grabbed a piece of paper that had the alphabet on it, and that's how I would spell what I needed to say. And sometimes one word would take 2 hours because I literally had no energy to even point. And
Wow.
I spelled out K-I-D. And she's like, oh, trying to help me. Oh, do you want me to tell your kids something? No. And I kept spelling N-A-P. And she's like, when you said kidnap, I was like, she ran an errand because I was doing better. And she said, I was like, what happened while I was gone? Because they were very protective over me. And right when she figured out that I had said that or spelled that out, what it was, the doctor and the nurse came in to extubate me and take the tube out because I was doing better. Well, obviously, I got sent back. I better do better. If I'm supposed to live, I'm supposed to live.
Okay.
So they took it out. And then I realized quickly there were still spirits in my room. And I realized quickly that I was the only one able to see them. And the doctor and nurse, when they went out, my sister, I could talk then, not very well, but I could talk. And she said, you had a lot to say. And I was having her, like, she's opening the bathroom door and the closet, showing me that there's nobody in the room, but clearly there was. And I never could figure out, why did I feel kidnapped? Why would I come from the best concert I had ever been to and been surrounded by all these angelic beings and come back and feel kidnapped? Like, why was that? And I am not a very patient person. I married my husband to gain patience, I tell him. And I just like to know everything. And I just didn't know. And so I didn't let it eat me alive. I just kind of went on my way. And then 2 years later, a bunch of things changed. So we can talk about that and the rest of the story.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Kidnap. That's interesting, huh? So you often say more will be revealed, and we'll talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah.
But what that healing comes in layers and through divine timing. Can you explain what that means on your own journey?
Yeah, boy, you're so right in saying that. I mean, I was told the other day by somebody that near-death experiencers, it takes them about 10 years to unravel everything that's there, which is interesting because I'm only not even 4 years in. But I feel like I've done a pretty good job unraveling. So I'm excited about more will be revealed to you. So that was what had happened. Was I had that horrible 2 years. And when I met you, I was just starting to come out of it. I mean, it was some really, really, every bad day I'd ever had times 100, every bad situation times 100 I went through in those 2 years. I cried every day, prayed to God, why did you let me live to put me through this hell?
Right.
I didn't want to live anymore. And it was for those lessons that I'm still learning and I'm still willing to learn. And I was shown a lot of things, but I think that's why I was protected in not getting the rest of my story, not knowing why I came back feeling kidnapped. There was all these gaps missing. So I called a friend of mine who does hypnosis. He had trained me in hypnosis, so I was very familiar with the process. I trusted him, asked him if he would do that specifically on the NDE, because there was gaps. And I was writing my book and I wanted, out of integrity, to feel like I had the story. And so he did that. And that was, oh, I don't want to compare, but like, because I learned so many amazing pieces to the story, it was almost like having another near-death experience for me. There were no plant medicine involved, by the way. I wanted to be very clear. The whole week before, I didn't eat sugar. I was just really wanted this spiritual experience to be the rest of the story. And so that's where I was told in that experience, more will be revealed to you, time is right. And I was at such peace with that, because I knew that with my being. I thought, oh, usually I'd want to know everything, but I probably would have been so overwhelmed. And I had a lot of the COVID fog going on still, because I had long COVID after that, lots and lots of health challenges. I had already incorporated the nonprofit and was going full force on that. And I was working on the software company, the retreat R&R. So I knew I was following what I was told to do, but a couple things happened. I never could figure out the kidnap thing. Now I have. And pieces have still come to me even this year, but there was an entity. So where I ended up, I believe that when I left for the near-death experience, I was going down the hallway, and I didn't share that earlier. I was going down the hallway of the hospital in my hospital bed. I traveled in my bed everywhere, by the way, which is really, it's kind of a funny story too. But I think I thought if I didn't take my bed with me, that I wouldn't get my body back. So I knew that it needed to come. So I'm headed down the corridor, and I'm shaking my finger at the receptionist, because they have you sign all these papers when they intubate you, which in real estate, we call that signing under duress, which I can't imagine why they can get away with having you sign when you're half dead. But I had remembered signing that, and we're going down the hallway, and I'm sharing with the receptionist, I rescind my DNR. I rescind my DNR. And that was on the way to the near death. So I obviously understood where I was going and where I was going to be. And then I went from the bed, into this big stadium, and that was the gap. Well, in the hypnosis session, he took me to that in-between place. And that's what I call it, in between. It wasn't dark and it wasn't light. The dark was on the right side and the light was on the left side. And it was just all this matter swirling around, and different colors that I don't know I have words to, but yet I would say, you also saw cobalt blue and silver and gray and black and just swirls, but everything would swirl, and it would swirl like in heart shape, and then it like go over to the left. So it was like everything was gravitating to the light, which makes sense. We all want the light. And then he asked is there somebody there? And I did feel somebody was there, but I couldn't. He said, try to get that in front of you. And every time I would try to see who was, it would like form into a person kind of, and then disperse and form. And he said, try to hold the energy there. And so I did. And I said, yes, it's an entity. I was not afraid of that entity. They were on, that darker side, but I didn't feel fear. And I was obviously very curious as to what was going on. So in hypnosis, they oftentimes, when you're working with a challenge, usually a person, have them become you, so that the hypnotist can talk to them and find out what's going on and find out a different perspective. And so that didn't scare me. I thought, why am I putting somebody that's an entity in my body? But I didn't. I wanted to know. And so the entity became me. He said, when I count backwards from 3 to 1, you're going to tell me your name. And I'm still there, because in hypnosis, you can wake up anytime, but that's not the purpose. I wanted to know. And I remember thinking, name, as he's saying 3, 2, 1. And I just blurted out, Darby. And I was like, kind of, whoa, Darby. I've never heard that name before, which ironically that month I heard 3 more times in different circumstances. And he talked to Darby, and Darby didn't have any connection to me. He just wanted my light. and he couldn't have the light and he couldn't go to the light. So he wanted my light. And so they bantered back and forth for quite a few minutes about how that's stealing and how that's my light and that's not his right to have it. And, but it was a calm conversation, but it was like this bantership. And all of a sudden, I could feel on my face, because my eyes are closed in this hypnosis session, I could feel the sense of light coming. And I remember the heat was more from the light than it was hot. It was just so bright with my eyes closed. And I remember Darby saying, the light's coming to take her and I'm not going to be able to stop it. And so then he's like, well, then can't you just let her go? That's hers, And so often, anyway, he finally lets me go. He agreed because he knew he was defeated and the light was taking me. I believe that that's that in between place that Darby took me. I joked before saying, why did I feel kidnapped? Oh, my guide was probably in training. We all have to learn how to do our jobs. And he was probably training and came and took me before he was supposed to. And that's why I didn't get a choice to come back. That was like my theory in my head. And after this experience, I was like, oh, Darby took me to this in-between place because he grabbed my light. And I say I had to have a spiritual intervention to get back, which was the light coming to take me from him to get me back. And so that's kind of how I piece things together. When I first got there, I remember looking up a couple key things. There was one eye on a mountain, and it was on the right side, but way back, far away. And I saw it twice, and I still have not had revealed to me what exactly that means. I believe it was a protection of some sort. One eye's on our money too. And there's a lot of symbolism with one eye. So I saw that twice. So I know I was supposed to. And then I also saw a tree right in front of me when Darby let me go. And it had almost like a division in the tree from the trunk, which to me represented choose the dark, choose the light. And I'm going to choose the light. But when I saw the tree, there was so much relief because Retreat R&R company that I was told not to partner with that other company. When I was doing the branding for it, I knew it had to have a tree in the logo. And so they created it and no one questioned it. I didn't even question it. I didn't give it hardly any thought. I just said, I really think that it needs to have a tree logo. And when it came back, it had 11 leaves and 11 roots in the logo. And I was like, and I got out of the hospital 11/11.
Wow.
And my birthday is 1/1. And there was just so many synchronicities on that. But what it did after that 2 years of what I call hell, it was like this God gift to me saying, you created that with that company because you listened to what I said and you created that logo of the tree without even remembering it was part of your story.
Wow.
And it was just like, oh, thank you. Thank you. I really needed that. And then when I got to the light, do you remember all the matter swirling that made hearts and then we go to the light? Well, now they turned into this beautiful, like pink rose quartz colored. And when I saw that, the nonprofit I was told to start, when we had the gala, the first fundraiser, in the gift bags to everybody, I had an ornament that said hope on it. But in every little bag, I knew, and no one questioned, it had to have a pink rose quartz heart in each bag.
Perfect.
And that was another gift, just like you created that. You did what you said. It was like, well done, thy faithful servant. It felt so good to feel like, oh my gosh, listen to what I said. And now I'm giving you this gift to know why.
Well, you get so many validations and I think what I love about interviewing and being with people that have had spiritually transformative experiences or near-death experiences and both is that most of the people do get the inspiration and they act on it. So, and you don't even question where it came from necessarily. You feel the energy of it. If it's in love, you just automatically do it. And that's part of the reason I love that group so much, is the Ions group, is that so many people, they came back from the other side and they're still doing their best to vibrate at the higher level, which means that you're more aligned to your team, to God, to your angels, whatever you want to call that other area, and you get to interact with it. I mean, I think I love that you did the hypnosis and got more pieces of the puzzle, because
Yeah.
that kidnapped is kind of scary.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so what would you say has been the hardest part of integrating your NDE into this life? I mean, now you're more open, as I said, and working more from here than here, most likely.
Yeah.
You test everything here. But was there something hard about it? That I mean, because were you different with your husband and your kids? Were there a lot of differences?
Yeah, and that was part of the 2 years that were horrible. So it was like you come back from this heavenly place and you think everybody would gravitate towards you because they almost lost you. And I felt repelled. I felt like that's it. My husband, a couple good friends, and a couple of my 8 siblings. I felt like that was my team, that was who, and I felt like everyone else, it just felt this pushback. And I don't understand all that yet. And it's okay. More will be revealed when the time is right. It's okay. And it was part of the journey. It was part of the lesson. I mean, we had some kids situations involved and just some horrible things that I shouldn't have had to go through. It was like, what do I need to learn out of this? And I will just share this much, that it was an experience to see how the system, especially with children, how broken it is and how horrible it is, and what my role is in the future in my philanthropy work to help fix it. And I do know that's a huge part of it. And it's, unfortunately, money's never been my big motivator, but I know it's going to take a lot of money to do the work I need to do. And I joke and say, I want to be the check writer. I don't want to be the one in the trenches dealing with what I had to. I felt like I did that over those 2 years. I know I don't want to live in that space. I always want to live in hope, love, light, joy, and peace. But still be the check writer to help create that peace.
Perfect. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I'm sure you will, because what you have, this dynamic enthusiasm that's contagious, and I hope everyone's getting that, like I am, through this conversation. So you, out of your NDE, and after your recovery, you created the Retreat Forward movement. Could you explain a little bit more about the Retreat Forward movement?
Yeah. So I'm branding the company everything to do with retreats. We have a podcast called All Things Retreat. It's a SaaS company. It's also a prop tech company for real estate, for buying and selling retreat venues. The SaaS part of it is in development. We still need about $2 million to get everything done right. And that's been a whole new journey, because I've had 11 startups, but I've never had a tech startup. So there's been a lot of challenges. Yes, it's taking me longer. I know I'll get there because it's so needed. But Retreat Forward is really my branding for, and when you think about Retreat Forward, it's like, do you call that an oxymoron? Is that what it's called when you do? I don't know if that's what it's called, but it's like retreats going backwards, but yet I'm saying going forward. And isn't that how life really is? Sometimes it's the slingshot. Sometimes we have to be pulled back. It's that setback to be shot forward for the comeback. And that's how I feel like Retreat Forward stands in that movement. And it's teaching those principles. And that will be part of my book. There's 8 principles that we will be sharing in there of the lessons I learned. And they're all in, order of life and kind of the circle of life. I use the infinity sign. That's why there's 8 of them, because if you turn it to the side, that's the infinity sign. Yeah. And so for me, it's just really, really helping people know that those setbacks are okay. Let's figure out what it is we need to learn from that so that we can move forward.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. So how do you feel, because you're involved with retreats and I think it's really a great idea what you're doing, because after the lockdown, so many people want to be together, want to find their group. And you can see some of the big names like Dr. Joe Dispenza and Tony Robbins, some of these people, Russell Brunson, and Excel's having a big one coming up. They're either doing 1 or 2 days at a hotel, and especially if it's a spiritual or personal development event, it would be better at a retreat center than it would be at a hotel. And again, this is part of integration. What you're doing, it's still going back to that. Do you think that retreats, from my perspective, they're on the rise, and I welcome that. Do you think that retreats and intentional time away help people with transformation and purpose after trauma or life challenges?
Oh, 100%. I'll give you a statistic. So in our research for the software company, because the software company is going to act, the SaaS, it's called software as a service. It's acting as if an Airbnb, but for retreat venues and retreat leaders to be able to get those places booked. So in that industry in 2022, remember we were still in the midst of the pandemic.
Yeah.
2022, it was $180 billion industry. And within 10 years, by 2032, it's estimated to be $364.4 billion. So it's not going anywhere. That's 101.6%, I think, growth.
Wow. Yeah. And I think it's wonderful to have 2-day events anyway, versus having that 1 day and then you go back into your environment again, and you still have to wash the dishes and make dinner, and you really don't get a chance to do you, especially as a woman. It just seems like there's so many responsibilities besides taking care of yourself.
Yes.
And that's our own fault. But anyway, so anyway, well, I love that. Okay. So I agree totally that integration is a big part of this conversation we're having right now, because retreating forward is still integration, because many of the people that have had near-death experiences haven't had any way to talk about it with their family or outsiders. Some of the people in IONS didn't talk about it for 20 or more years before. Isn't it amazing? Well, it wasn't time. You would have been put on drugs, or they would have just written it off to drugs. I don't know if you've ever heard Peter Panagore, who's going to be on tomorrow with me.
Oh, I have not.
Oh, Reverend. He's a Reverend. Amazing. He's a mystic. And he told me about this study where since World War II, since the 40s, there's been automatic resuscitation of anyone coming into a hospital. So people that would have normally passed were resuscitated. And there's a gentleman that he follows that did some sort of statistics and said the tipping point for the elevation of our species and the next level awareness and consciousness is that all of those people, which is a huge percentage of the population that's living right now, if you think of from the 40s on, so it's baby boomers on, that all of those people that had a near-death experience that might never have realized it, because of the solar flares and the frequency on the earth, they're going to remember.
Wow.
And when they remember, if you think of the quantity, and they did have statistics, I don't remember them, but it was like, yay. Because all along you go, how are we going to get people to be kind and realize that we're all all the same, and that there's a gift in everyone's life and everyone's a blessing, rather than judging everything. And this is one of the ways you'd have a huge percentage, like 20% of the population would all of a sudden pop into that awareness. Isn't
Yeah,
that wild?
it is wild. That's so interesting to think how that works.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can see that your worldview, even though you were probably nurturing and kind before, your worldview changed once you saw the bigger picture. And that's what any spiritually transformative experience seems to bring you, to a perspective that you're actually looking at things with hindsight as you're in them. So that's different, right?
Yeah.
Um, so there's an appreciation that you might not have, instead of like, oh God, here it is again. It's like, oh, wonder why it's here again.
Yeah. I'd like to add to that. So in the hypnosis session, when I saw the life review there, that's when I questioned, why am I only seeing the good? Because I had time 2 years to think about, why am I only seeing good? I know there was bad. And basically, because this is what matters. And that was huge for me. I got told, love them where they're at, which would have shifted that whole 2-year time frame for me. To know that ahead of time would have kept me out of that, I believe. But
Yeah,
that wasn't the lesson I needed. So to love people where they're at, and then why am I not seeing the bad? Because this is what mattered.
perfect.
And it makes me look at things with a different perspective to others too, because it's like, well, if God's gonna look at my good, not that he ignored the bad or I'll be judged by the bad, I'm sure that's all there. But at that time, my heart was hurting so bad after those 2 years. I don't think my heart could have taken seeing anything I did to somebody, because I think we have to feel those emotions and pain that we caused people. And someone asked me the other day, but what if you've asked for forgiveness? What if you've done that? Do you think you'll still have to feel that pain? And I love that question, because I hadn't even thought about it. I mean, my gut reaction says no, because you went through a forgiveness process and you already know that you hurt that person. And someone else said, well, what if you hurt somebody for 30 years, they were hurt, but you didn't even know it? Well, how are you accountable to something you didn't know if they didn't bring it to your attention and you had no idea? I feel like the judgment is just so different. And God is good, God is love. And so to tell me this is what mattered, he's going to pay a lot more attention to the good you did, is what I feel.
Oh, that's great. Do you feel like you have a team working with you now? Do you feel, I mean, are you constantly aware that you have a connection more than you did before?
Yes, I did before. I always say I had the gift of knowing, and people that have that, they know what I'm saying, because people will ask you, how do you know that? And you're just confident. I don't know. I just do. And so I think that's a little more high. Not that I'm a know-it-all. I'm not at all. There's so much every day I need to learn, but I'm open to learning more. And I'm always open to listening to other opinions. They don't have to sway me one way or another. I can have my own and stand in my own thoughts, right? But I think it's just knowing that if I need those answers, one good thing with me is when I need an answer, I get it super fast. And I always have. And I think it's because I don't have any patience. And I mean, for me, I think that God put me in a coma for all those days to keep me still. I mean, physically to heal, right? That's how they did it. So I would heal. But I think I was put in a coma to sit still so I would listen to my next steps. Because,
Oh,
and I think when I have relapses with the long COVID, after the last one, it was 10 weeks. That was a long time. I still traveled through it. I still worked through it, but I felt like crap every day. And I think it was after I came out of that, I'm like 10 weeks. It was 6 weeks that a year before, and it was 6 weeks the year before. I'm thinking, okay, what is it I need to be doing? And the thought came to me, well, I need to get you to sit still again because you're off track. And I thought, oh, I'm going to figure this out next time I start slipping, because for me, that's my answer. And until I asked what the answer was, or why am I having these relapses? What do I need to do differently? Then I got the answer, but I didn't ask the question. And I think a lot of us just don't think about the question to ask the answer to, because we have the answers.
Oh, that's so perfect. Okay, so the next question I have is sort of like that is many people are searching for meaning, that they're going through a lot of crisis and loss right now. And what message would you want to give to someone who feels broken or uncertain about their future right now?
Okay. I'm going to go back to the message that I got in the hypnosis session that was love them where they're at. And that, I would say, if I was talking to somebody, that would also include yourself number one, because you need to love yourself to love others. And I think when you beat yourself up and you think of all the things that are happening, that are going wrong in your life, and relationships that are upside down, and your financial situations are upside down, take a step back and think of, how can I love me today?
Right.
Ask yourself that question. And now, how can I love somebody else today? And maybe pick the person that you love the least.
So do you feel that your near-death experience was divinely orchestrated?
Absolutely. Yes.
Mm.
I know without a shadow of a doubt that was meant to be. There was no reason why I should have been in the hospital physically, because I was very healthy, and to get it that bad and to really suffer the way I did. And maybe I wouldn't have suffered so long. Maybe I was being resistant. I don't know. I don't think I wanted to die, but it was a long journey back. And I feel like sometimes it just, us stubborn people like myself have to go through. Sometimes I need a lesson 3 times. For some reason, that seems to be my number.
Knock on wood when you say that, because you don't want to have another near-death experience.
Oh, I do.
People
I hope I learned what I needed to.
have like 3 of them, and it's like, oh my God, you poor thing. Anyway, well, spiritually transformative experiences you can have that still are confusing and still need integration without
Yeah.
hurting your body. And some of these people that I talk to on this show and on other events, summits that I do, they're still, the rest of their life, they'll have back problems or they'll have issues. So you are really lucky that it's COVID and you can manage. Plus, you're still a Spitfire. So whatever it did, it didn't change that. It changed it. You didn't change that, which is great. So okay, so
My biggest loss, honestly,
uh-huh.
was I was a singer, and
Oh,
so I don't have a singing voice anymore. And they say there's no damage, but obviously, I guess I can sing really low now. I can sing the blues, but I wish that was a big loss for me. So I've been working on different ways uh, to be able to do music.
oh, okay. Yeah, my friends Andy and Jonathan Goldman wrote a book on humming, and
Mm.
they say if you hum, that'll heal your voice. And
Ooh,
it's ancient. That's where chanting comes from and everything. So you might try humming.
that's
So
a great idea. Thank you.
I wanted to ask, because you're an author, you're about to have a new book coming up. Do you have anything you would like to share out of all the books that you published? You're a best-selling author on so many levels. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. It's interesting because the book I have coming up, I have never struggled so hard with a title. It's so personal to me, but it's also, I want it to be a transformational book for other people. And so there's been a lot of pushback with it. And it's like, if something's good or supposed to be, it seems like that's how it ends up. And so I understand that. And yet I'm like, wow, I can make decisions so quickly, so quickly. And so we just certified the new title. It does launch. The book will launch on 11/11, because that's the day I got out of the hospital. And it's called NearDeath Shift: What Dying Taught Me About Life, Business, and Purpose. So
Perfect.
that's my new one. And I've never done it's a spiritual and personal development book.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, you're for people that are interested in learning more about you. You're going to be speaking at the IONS conference, and I guess you have multiple times you're going to be speaking. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Well, I'll only be speaking once on stage. Multiple times to everybody else I'm going to be learning so much from. But I'm on the trauma panel that's in the main room Saturday at 2:30, which I feel like was the best time slot on the best day. I'm really excited about that. And I'm with two other women, Michelle Vale and Rebecca Castle, and they're beautiful. We've been meeting, and it should be really inspiring. Everybody's got such great stories, and I just have so much love for these women that I think it'll be really powerful. We have 90 minutes, so each of us will tell our story in about 20, and then we'll have lots of time for question and answers. So I'm really excited. This is my first time speaking at IONS.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I know both of those ladies are amazing. And so I think you'll really enjoy it. And the other thing that's wonderful about those panels is there's no competition. IONS, which is the International Association for Near-Death Studies, has been in existence over 40 years. And I'm going to show real quick the website so people can see. So let me add the stage here. Okay, so this is the conference.ions.org site. And I'm going to go straight to here because if anyone's been interested in reading about near-death experiences, Dr. Raymond Moody, 50 years ago, 1975, wrote a book called Life After Life, which launched the whole field. And IONS was taken up. In fact, Bruce Grayson was one of the people that actually was originally starting up when IONS started. And it was started by researchers. And these keynote speakers, Carolyn Mist, anyone that knows about medical intuitives, she's just remarkable. Bruce Grayson is a internationally famous researcher and expert on near-death experiences. Diane Powell she's just a remarkable researcher. And if you haven't heard about the telepathy tapes, it's about the capability of children to be able to be telepathic with their parents, especially nonverbal children. And it's fantastic. It really opens up the whole sphere of interpersonal communication and our future. I really believe that's our future. And then my buddy, Mark Anthony, who I just think is amazing. He's a psychic experiencer. He's a fourth dimensional medium, fourth generational medium. And he wrote a book called The Afterlife Frequency, and he's entertaining and brilliant. And then you can see there's workshops, you can have lunch with speakers. Here are some of the wonderful people that are here that are some of the keynotes, as well as other people you can see by their bright smiles. And then there's workshops the day before and after from all these amazing people. So do you want to add to that? I kind of hogged that conversation there.
Oh, it's so exciting. And the telepathy tapes, yeah, I started listening to that. It was interesting because someone shared that with me on a podcast I was a guest on. And even on the air, we started talking about nonverbal autistic kids. And I had just been thinking about that morning, which was interesting. And I said, I really believe those children are living in a different dimension. And that's why we can't understand them. They're the most brilliant ones around. And then he goes, oh, you need to go listen to the telepathy tapes because they explain all that. And I was so excited because I thought, I didn't just think of that out of nowhere. I was just so interesting.
Downloads. Well, I'm going to encourage people to, if they cannot come to IONS in Chicago, that they go online and buy a live streaming ticket because it's not very expensive. And instead of watching Netflix that doesn't do anything for you, these conversations will give you so many insights into what's actually happening with you as you evolve to this new human, that the futurists have all said that this period of time we're in right now is this breakthrough to a new species of human that's kinder, more loving, and peaceful. That would be nice. Um, and I think what you'll find is the articulation of the mystical experiences that these people have had will enrich your life in so many ways you can't even imagine all of it, right?
I agree. Yes, it's gonna be wonderful. The energy there is amazing.
Right, right. So we want to make sure if you go and there's multiple rooms going on in the schedule at the same time. So you can't, unless you can buy locate, you can't see everything all at once. And the IONS conference is recorded. Most of it is. I don't know if every room is, but most of it is. So you can actually, if you buy a ticket to be there in person, you get the recordings. And also if you live stream, you get the recordings and you can view them for a certain time period. So I just want to encourage everyone to go to conference.ions.org and do yourself a favor, do your family a favor. There's no reason to be afraid of death. In fact, the adventure continues, and these people, 40 to 50 years of research on it is quite remarkable. So, and I look so forward to your new book, Holly.
Thank you.
I know you've been a best-selling author so many times, over 13 times. So you said maybe 15 times. So this is, I hope that your next book is also a bestseller as well.
Thanks. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Do you want me to show them your site real quick? You could talk to your site for just a
Sure. Well, my personal site where I do business coaching consulting is hollyporter.com. And instead of that, I'd rather have them just go there if they want to connect, or any social media platform I'm on under Holly Porter. But how long do we have? We have like 3 more minutes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You see, that's why I thought if you want to go here, then people can go. There's her media kit, her store, her podcast we were just talking about.
It's really up, but it's not on there yet. We're working on it.
Oh no, they'll be able to see that you're in motion here. But
yeah, always in motion.
yeah, well, that's what's so exciting about knowing you, honestly, is your can-do attitude, and you get the inspiration, you go do it. So here's let's work together, connect, shop now, connect, read now. So, and there's your free download. Do you want
business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little business gift that helps people figure out things, and if they're newer, probably in businesses who it would be more relatable to, or thinking about being an entrepreneur, I really, that's my focus, is to get people to make their dreams come true on their own and not work on somebody else's dime.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So I just want to encourage everyone to go to Holly's site, and it's in the description with a clickable link. It'll make it easier than even to type it out, but it's hollyporter.com. And I'm sure that site's just going to get more and more populated as you have more time to put it all together. But thank you so much, Holly, and bless the work that you're doing. It's really going to help so many people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to sign off now. Please, everyone, please share this to your friends and family that are interested in self-growth and personal development. I think they'll get a lot of gems out of our conversation. And I hope that you'll go to hollyporter.com and to conference.ions.org. Thank you, Holly. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.